Hello, Kitty. Hello, Representative.
Let me start there. Welcome everyone to our HEAC meeting on today, March 25th of 2021. We will start the meeting at 3:31. Has everyone gotten a chance to look over both November's and January's minutes, the good ones for January that I sent out with the corrections?
Yeah, there were only a few tweaks.
Thank you, Steph.
And you know, they said notes because at the time, when we started, we didn't have a quorum. But I
Right.
think we did have a quorum by the end.
At the
So
end of it.
delete that off.
Okay. And I never went back to vote on the minutes, so we'll just vote on both of them now if everyone has had a chance to look at them.
Yes.
Any corrections or amendments that need to be made? Did anyone notice? No? Okay.
No.
I will entertain a motion to approve both November's and January's minutes.
I move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. Oh, welcome, Senator. Let's see, I'll start with the chairman's report. We have myself and Mike Koski, who are up for reappointment. Mike and I have both agreed to be on HEAC again. And we have a new member who has joined us today. Amanda Whedon is going to be a special needs representative from Granite State Home Educator. So welcome, Amanda.
Welcome.
HEAC. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure.
Not to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So my name is Amanda Whedon. I'm a veteran homeschool mom, and I live in Rochester. I have 4 children, and 3 of my 4 children have learning challenges and other special needs, one of them significantly so. And I really work as an advocate, and I volunteer my time with families in New Hampshire to support them with all kinds of resources. So I help them with anything from creating a behavior plan for the day during their homeschool, to choosing curriculum, to, well, really, you name it, at all hours of the evening. So I try very hard to be welcoming and to be available. And so I work with quite a few families per week, I would say. So my son has significant special needs. My children have never been in a brick and mortar school. They've always been homeschooled. And my son, who has the significant challenges, we were told from the beginning that we didn't know if he was going to walk or talk. And now he is thriving. He's just a joy, a special guy. So we are really definitely advocates for homeschooling, really supportive of people who are making the switch over from a different environment. And I think, so I'm part of Granite State Home Educators. I'm also one of the 3 leaders in Christian Home Educators of New Hampshire and Southern Maine. And I also do work as a special needs homeschool advocate. And I do get involved in some of the other things that go on in Rochester if I need to, which I do need to bring up something later on. But yes, so we're happy. We're, a big family, and we do all sorts of fun things, but I am happy to be here and to try to help out.
We're very grateful to have you here. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Kitty, as far as I know, my term ends in August also.
Yes.
Or you're talking about August ones? Yeah.
Mike and I actually ended at the end of last year. And yours comes up this year, I believe.
Yeah, so they'll vote on somebody in June.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I think mine ends this year also.
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have, if you, both Steph and George want to message me and let me know if you want to continue.
Oh, no.
Or
Very fair. This is
nominate
enough
someone
stuff.
else,
This is enough.
or if someone else needs to be nominated, putting forth a name would be wonderful as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. We had a few questions on Granite State Home Educators about waivers for this year.
Yeah, we're getting that too.
Yeah, so I had reached out to the commissioner and he said he does not foresee needing waivers for year-end evaluations for homeschoolers this year because he won't be doing waivers for the school districts. They will still be doing their testing, so we can spread the word about that.
Okay.
That there won't be waivers for this year.
This school year, Kitty. Sorry.
This school year, sorry, the 2020-2021 school year, excuse me, is we had one for last year for the 2019-2020 school year. Now that's as it stands right now. If something
Yeah,
happen,
right. If there's a disaster, yeah.
Yeah. So, but as it stands right now, we're not anticipating needing waivers for this year, which I guess is good. You know, moving forward. A conversation kind of needs to happen around equal access. It's been brought to my attention a few times through Granite State Home Educators and from other leaders that equal access is still a pretty big problem, and COVID-19 and all the restrictions for this year are being used as excuses. But even beyond that, you know, we've talked about it before, kids being allowed to attend, you know, French class field trips or sports and things like that. And so I think opening that up to figuring out what we might be able to do to help people who are really having problems, other homeschoolers who are having problems participating in events that they want to participate in their districts, because I know Rochester is having big problems with it.
Well, do you have HEAC reps or coalition reps? I mean, coalition reps do this all the time. Call the school district, lay out the law, and in very rare circumstances, do they ever even need to go farther than that? They're terrified by the time you basically contact them. And then you have to really go district by district, because
It is.
the superintendents will change, or the secretary, who's the first line that you contact. So it's not as though sending out more technical advisories is going to help. We've already done that. So, you know, for these past, you know, 28 years that I've been doing this, you get somebody who knows the law or in position of authority to call them up and say, this is what the law says and this is it.
Okay, and so you've found that just, you know, quoting the law, this is what you do.
Yeah, but you don't put the parent in that position. It depends on the parent. Some parents, you give them the ammunition. But in many cases, you call and you say, I'm Stephanie Marsh. I'm a representative of the New Hampshire Homeschooling Coalition. I understand there's a family having some issues with this. Don't want to get into specifics, but let me quote you the law. And this means that blah and blah and blah is required. And if you don't do that, of course, legal action will follow. Oh, yes, I know. Well, no, we're not about to do that right now, but please, yes. Can I speak to the superintendent, please? Tomorrow, fine, I'll call at 9. They shake in their shoes and they back down. But you have to do the work.
So unfortunately, that hasn't been my experience. So I have had to call a number of schools, a number of participating agencies on all occasions for all kinds of things. Typically, they don't understand the law, which is the first. But for this situation that I've been dealing with Rochester since really the beginning of the pandemic, I actually met in person. I went in person to meet with the superintendent and the vice superintendent. I went to the school board. I sat on the floor, on a dirty floor with a mask on for 4 hours to talk to the school board. They outright refused to my face. I am a.
Did you call HSLDA then? Because you need a lawyer in there then, that if it's really that bad, but it really is.
we went through the steps. We went through, and I have the paper trail, the email trail. I went through all the proper steps. And as far as I know, it got to the commissioner. So I was told that he was going to make a phone call. That technical advisory that came out was not specific to equal access. So it
Right.
didn't have language in it that I could point to.
No,
I
no, it
literally-
doesn't mean that's often their solution, right? Right.
So they literally pulled up their, I said, please pull up the homeschool law. And I said, pull up RSA 193C. She did. She read the first part of the sentence to me. She said, schools are allowed to, create rules. And I said, can you finish the sentence? As long as it's not, different than how you treat private school and homeschoolers. And she told me, well, that's not what we're doing. We are maintaining our cohorts, and we'll just have to agree to disagree. And I sat there with her for a half an hour going back and forth, and she was condescending, and I can't imagine how she treated parents. This was 6 months ago. I got a message yesterday that another family just this week is being denied equal access. And this is what I tell the parents: go directly to the teacher. Go to the band teacher and ask. Try to bypass the superintendent because they will not comply. She said, we did go direct. The band teacher told him, because he's a homeschool dad. The band teacher said, it is not my decision. It's directly from the superintendent not to allow homeschoolers. So I said, I have this meeting tomorrow. This is the same superintendent. He's avoiding the phone calls. He's avoiding it. But this is just this past week. This is ongoing. And this, talk about them, quaking in their shoes. No, absolutely not. I threatened legal action. I threatened to sue them to their face.
No, you don't just threaten to sue them right away. Nobody who is actually doing legal action would do that. You bring in a lawyer. You bring in a lawyer, or you call the commissioner. And if the commissioner hasn't called, you call the office again and make sure it happens.
So we have done those steps.
We have
done those steps for months, and we have actively talked to the commissioner. We were told to essentially sit on it and wait and see what happens with the pandemic.
Well, are they saying
wait
just because of COVID? Is that
yes,
they're saying that they won't let them in?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's under the emergency order.
There is nothing in an emergency order that speaks directly to waiving equal access at all. There is nothing that speaks to a waiver on this part of statute. So we were told months ago that the commissioner would speak to Mike Donnelly at HSLDA, and we were told to wait and be patient, see what happens. So we have gone through all these steps, and it has only been continuing. And frankly, here we are a full year into this pandemic stuff where kids are limited to their access. And even as schools are reopening, and it varies district to district, it's not just Rochester. It is probably the worst in Rochester, but not the only one. But other schools are telling families, no, you can't come in because you're not part of our cohort. And so this is being compounded. And as there's talk about limited reopening even into next fall, this needs to get resolved. Is equal access still applicable, or is it not? Is it limited, or is it subject to the district's discretion because of the pandemic? It has been a mess. And it's not a new issue, but it has certainly been compounded by COVID. But we have taken all of these steps for months.
I'm going upstairs to talk to my friendly local legislator. Well, there's Glenn. But anyway, I know you talked to the commissioner, but I had a specific question here.
Okay.
It has happened. It has happened in the past that a certain district, a certain superintendent absolutely refuses to cooperate. There are people like that, and they have excuses that they use. But you're right. This has to be resolved. You can't go through another year like this. This is crazy.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Has it ever come up towards the end of this year when homeschoolers need to do testing that they've said they won't allow them in for the standardized testing either?
I think if they haven't announced ahead of time so that the schools have enough time to order the tests, it's been a problem. I haven't heard of other problems yet, but Michelle may have, or Steph or Amanda, have you heard of that issue happening? Or George?
In the past, a long time ago, yes, but I haven't run across anything recent.
Okay.
Nothing recent at this time. I don't know if a lot of parents are going that route. Just based on conversations, it seems that parents are looking more for the other options, not working with the SAU. I don't know, though. We haven't seen anything directly to speak to that for this year.
I guess, Jen, are you talking more about SATs and things like that, or just about the local district's evaluation?
Yeah, the evaluations, because I mean, equal access is a very important issue, but if it's also keeping people from fulfilling the homeschool law, then that would be another issue as well.
Jen, has anybody called you on that?
No, but what I've heard is our homeschool group, they're looking into evaluations right now. They haven't specifically said where they want to go. They're looking like, who can evaluate me at this point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that.
Okay. So, short of calling HSLDA, or perhaps we need to involve them, what, oh, go ahead, Steph, I'll let you.
I
So-
just missed all this, but Glenn's, I'm sure, going to say the same thing. I just thought, well, with Bill on the reopening committee, I would also ask him. And yeah.
I would just ask Amanda, anyone else who's having a similar equal access problem, send me an email, maybe to Senator Ward as well, and brief us on the situation, and we can see what we can do.
Amanda, do you have the senator and the representative's email?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that is very frustrating, though, that the commissioner either isn't following up or is not making any progress with the situation. That kind of surprises me.
It is surprising.
Yeah, I'm
I
surprised.
agree.
Really surprises me. Sorry,
Okay.
Amanda.
May
Wow.
may I ask, does a superintendent have like a veto power with the commissioner? I don't know how that works.
No.
Not as far as the law goes.
May I ask, now I consider myself relatively new to HEAC, but is this, so I'm asking in an inquisitive manner, is this the kind of situation where we would form a grievance committee?
Yes. A parent.
We could. Usually that's if someone's objecting to something a homeschooler's doing, but.
So I just wanted to add that I did go through the steps that were given to me by the Department of Education. So I did contact the very nice guy in mediation, and he told me exactly the steps, what to go through and what the next steps were. And again, we were told that the commissioner was going to, in essence, handle it. And so to be patient, and that's what we've been doing. And so we haven't heard anything, and I would say probably, I haven't heard directly in 2 or 3 months, any instances direct, but this was just yesterday. So we did go through the Department of Education. We went through the steps with the mediator, and he sent them a message to say, you need to follow the homeschool law.
Who's the mediator, Amanda? Do you know?
Yeah.
Doug, I can't remember his last name, but he was a very nice guy. And I spoke with the commissioner's secretary about the situation as well. She was well aware that multiple districts are behaving in this way. She was very surprised that I went through all the steps of calling and meeting in person with them and that they still denied it. And I was very clear with them, you know, what the law was, and she denied it. So I said, I want to understand what you're saying. You are denying equal access. And she said, yes. So it's not like, you know, I just called up and said, hey, this is the law. You need to do it. No, I went through all the avenues that I was told to go through to have a paper trail and to make sure that people in the know were in the know. So all that to say, in this case, in Rochester's case, nothing short of the commissioner calling him directly, well, really it's Sandy, calling Miss McDonald directly is going to rectify this. There's nothing short of that.
It sounds like that might not even have worked.
Yeah, that's,
I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah.
So if that's not working, is our next step, the next step, a lawsuit? Is it something where the family or families come together, call HSLDA, and file a lawsuit? Is that the next step? Is that the only recourse, I guess, to hold them to following the law?
I'm assuming none of these families are HSLDA members, or they would have just called them right away. Is there any, and I
I'm not
know
sure.
that's a little bit expensive to pay for it first. Is there any chance that among these families, there's anybody who, you know, I'm a lifetime member, so, you know, anytime they bother me, I can call, but you know,
So
are there any member families?
So the woman who contacted me yesterday, I can ask her. She was going to try to work it out because her husband knows the superintendent. So she was going to try to call. So I was giving her that space to do that. I will contact her later today, and I can ask her that. Part of the issue also is that it was not just homeschoolers that he was denying equal access to. He was denying equal access to VLAC students as well. So if a student had chosen to be remote, they were told you had to stay remote. You could not change your mind. And so these parents who, you know, their kid had been in band the whole time and they chose remote, the district was denying that student, their student, equal access to their in-person programs. So it doesn't just affect, it's not just homeschoolers. So a number of the families that I've been working with are VLACs, are remote learners. So they wouldn't fall under homeschoolers or having the homeschool insurance. So they've just given up, to be honest. They've just given up.
Want to add that the whole situation with VLAX enrollment has been very confusing this year, because a student can still be, right now, because of COVID crazy, can be full-time VLAX and not be considered full-time enrolled for VLAX. And they're having to comply with homeschool law. They are being told by VLAX that even full-time enrolled, they are not full-time, even with 6 courses. And so they're being told that they have to be a homeschooler. So the whole VLAX mishmash has been totally confusing, especially to these new time families who aren't, I mean, it just, the ongoing confusion about VLAX has been compounded this year too. So, and then there are districts, as Amanda said, there are districts that are using VLAX as their remote option, but they are still enrolled in their local public school. And kids who are enrolled full-time in VLAX are full-time, but they're, 6 classes or so, are being told, no, you're not full-time in VLAX, you're a homeschooler. So the whole VLAX thing has been a mess this whole year.
Michelle, does the commissioner know that?
Yes, I've had discussions with him. He knows that different districts are using VLAX as their remote option.
Yeah.
And he knows that VLAX is telling these families that 6 classes or more is not full-time with VLAX. So it makes no sense. It's been terribly confusing to families all year. And it's, you know, the VLAX and enrollment has been an ongoing issue, as we've talked about for
Oh, yeah.
quite some time. But this year it's been up to anybody's. It's just been a disaster.
I really felt like when we were able to get the full-time enrollment down to weeks instead of months, it would have helped. But
And I think it did, but then COVID threw a monkey wrench in everything.
Right.
yeah. But I mean, 6 classes is, I mean, even on their own website, it's full-time.
They're telling families it's not, that they are not considered VLAX students. They have to be homeschoolers.
Okay.
Are they quoting any kind of law for throwing out all their policies, like VLAX or the commissioner's office?
They pretty much say we get to do what we want because of COVID. But they give there is no executive order that waives any of this.
Is there any law behind emergency orders that they're saying because of an emergency, they just throw everything out? I mean,
I've not seen anybody quote an executive order that empowers them to do what they want, like as regards equal access or the VLAX enrollment. Nothing. And certainly not heard it from a district because they don't know this stuff. I'm sorry, but they really don't. But no, there's no legal grounding in any of their actions.
Oh, if they're going to change their procedures, whoever they are, whether it's VLAX or the districts, if they're going to change procedures, they have to make it clear in writing so that people can understand what's going on. If they're just making this up as they go along, which is what it sounds like, and then imposing it on people, that's completely unjust. So I'm not sure what we can do about it. We can certainly, take a vote and say, the Home Education Advisory Council, demands or whatever, but I don't think that'll do a whole lot of good but this is completely wrong. They can't just make it up as they go along and tell people, yeah, we just made this up, but you have to obey us, when people don't even know what they have to obey. If it's not in writing, how do you choose what you're going to do? This is gruesome.
Are you sort of saying, George, that if they had a statement that said, well, because of COVID, this is our ongoing policy, blah, 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 that at least it wouldn't be quite so bad?
Well, they would have to find a basis either in the governor's executive orders or in law. They couldn't just make it up and write it. But at the very least, it has to be written down. And whatever they decide to do has to have some basis in law or, like I said, in the governor's emergency orders. They can't just make it up with no basis. That's it. That's my 2 cents worth.
I mean, maybe there's something we don't know. I would like to believe.
I'm sure there's a lot we don't know.
Well, I'll own that. Actually, okay. I'm sorry, Mike, to put you on the spot, but is it possible that there's something we don't know about what's going on in school districts that could that affects equal access?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, not that I'm aware of. I
Okay.
came in kind of without hearing the beginning of the situation, but no, I can't think of anything that would create an unequal access situation,
Okay.
short of somebody being infected.
Right, yeah.
That would be a very different story. Yeah. So yeah, I'm afraid I haven't got too much to add to
Well, I mean,
To help with the understanding of it anyway.
Right. It's a lovely dress.
Yeah, thank you. I got pushed to the sewing room.
Understood. So yeah, I wonder what our next steps would be to help these families. I know as an advisory council, clearly we've already advised the commissioner, perhaps empowering these families to kind of work together, putting them in touch with one another, and maybe even in touch with HSLDA. Does
So what
anybody?
exactly is that situation with HSLDA again? Have you talked to them, but nothing really happened, or?
We
what
went up
is
the chain. We brought it to the New Hampshire Department of Ed first. As Amanda said, she talked to a mediation person. We talked to Angela Adams. We had CC'd the commissioner in these things. He was aware of it. He told us to be patient and see what happens. And he
HSLDA, like,
and he was in touch with HSLDA to see
Okay.
if the COVID requirements and restrictions and autonomy that our districts have in their reopening plans to fit their own community allow somehow extended to equal access automatically, even though no executive order has addressed that specifically. And we've been in this holding pattern while all these limitations continue. Not probably the most egregious one is Rochester, but certainly not the only one. But yeah, we've followed all these steps, to talking to the districts directly. And
so should someone besides the commissioner be talking to HSLDA, like somebody with the info and the background? Like,
well, we've been trying to be respectful of that chain of command and allowing the commissioner to take this under the full umbrella of what's going on with the COVID restrictions and districts and their autonomy in case there was something we were unaware of. And we've gotten nowhere.
okay,
So
so you're not overstep the local control issue.
right. So we've been trying to be respectful of both of those issues, but there are families still being pushed out, not allowed to participate. And that actually will piggyback to the situation in Barrington that Kitty has to share. But this local control and COVID restrictions are impacting equal access in a more profound way than I've seen before.
Actually, Michelle, something you just said kind of triggered a memory in me. There was something at the beginning where the commissioner himself said that districts were given local control throughout this pandemic. I don't remember if it was a TA or if it was simply something he had been quoted as saying in the newspaper. Does this ring a bell for anybody else?
No, I think there were general statements like that about reopening.
Okay.
Did I not?
But nothing with any legal backing to it.
No, I'm going to take a guess here, and I think maybe politically, the commissioner and the governor don't want to make it sound like they're trying to push the local districts around. This whole pandemic thing, as you said, Michelle, between the pandemic and the local control that New Hampshire is always very adamant about. Those two things are creating a political situation that I think makes it difficult. But even with a difficult political situation, the districts need to have written, they need to have something written down so that people know what is going on.
Okay.
I'm not
I
sure.
think at a minimum, we as a council have, because this is ongoing and our organization has tried for months, but I think as a council, it's appropriate for us to follow up with the commissioner and the department about where do things stand, what is appropriate regarding equal access, what can homeschoolers expect, and because this needs to be resolved.
Yes.
Even before we may take this directly to HSLDA, I think at a minimum it's appropriate for us as a council to follow up with the commissioner at this point.
Okay. I'm happy to do that. I just put a text into him to see if he could jump on the meeting really quickly.
Yeah.
But
Otherwise, I'd suggest putting something in writing to him
Yes.
from the chair on behalf of the council.
okay.
I agree with that.
I think it'd be useful if a motion was made,
Okay.
because that makes it
Yeah.
more.
Official. Okay. I will entertain a motion.
So would you please articulate the motion, Kitty?
Entertaining it.
Just for the notes.
Yes.
Minutes.
I will entertain a motion for the chair to follow up with the commissioner regarding equal access as far as what is appropriate for school districts to be doing, what homeschoolers and VLAC students can expect, and what form of recourse we have when equal access is not being honored.
All right, so moved.
I'll second, or
It's been moved and seconded that I send an email to the commissioner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I shall make sure that is done. Let me take a few more notes. So aside from what's appropriate, what can homeschoolers expect, what recourse do we have? Are there other specific talking points you all would like me to include?
Yes, Kitty?
Yes.
If I would have a question on what the commissioner would say if the schools say to homeschoolers, you cannot participate in end-of-year evaluations if you want to. Then there would be a difficulty fulfilling the homeschool law.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a slow writer. Does anyone else have any specific talking points I should include?
Could we request an advisory statement from the commissioner?
As far as what we would tell people he recommends they do, or that he put one out to districts?
Yeah, that he put it out to districts. I mean, if we're bringing a complaint, it seems reasonable to offer those districts some guidance as to how they should be responding. Or is that a long legal process?
No, we can request a TA at any
Okay.
time. I'm not sure if all these phone calls are already being made, I'm not sure a TA would help, but there's no harm in asking.
Yeah, it just seems like an official have it in writing type of thing.
Right.
that's how, yeah.
Sorry, Steph?
I would say maybe in your opening, rather than just asking what is the situation, but to state a little bit more strongly that, per our research or from what we know, the emergency order situation does not call for suspension of RSA 193. That, these things are happening and we want to know what's going to be done. And then go into, rather than I see it kind of like rather than ask the college what they want to see from the homeschooler, more like tell them what you're going to give them.
Tell them what needs to happen. Yeah. Yep.
In a nice, tactful. But I mean, I just think it's too wide open. It's too easy to answer that with, well, we're trying to see what will work best for school districts.
Yeah, no.
That's not obviously going to.
No, because it's not working for VLAC students, not working for homeschoolers. I'm
And
sure.
so we
there-
have Glenn right here and Bill upstairs saying there's nothing in that order that allows them to do any of it.
No.
or anything that everybody else is saying so.
Yep. All right. Any other advice and or talking points? All right. And as Michelle said earlier, there's an additional issue that's happening with the Barrington School District, where they're refusing to allow a first-year homeschooling child to re-enroll at their resident school district. So they homeschooled, now they want to re-enroll, and they're saying because of social distancing requirements, they're not allowing her to re-enroll. And she has also tried to go up the chain of command with her principal and superintendent, and both of them said, oh, the deadline was a couple weeks ago, so maybe April, but that's also not legal because a child can re-enroll or unenroll at any time. So that's happening in Barrington. Michelle, sorry, did I get all that? Is there anything else you wanted to add to it? You're muted.
The family did take it to the superintendent, not just the principal, and to the school board, if I remember correctly. And they were told, sorry, maybe we'll let you in April. But you missed the deadline, too bad, which is ridiculous because, there is nothing that says, again, these COVID executive orders do not suspend when a student may enroll in their local public school. And that I just don't see how they can deny a family that.
Is this elementary school, middle school, high school?
I believe it's elementary school. It's a first-year homeschooling family, and they did it because the schools weren't open. That was the whole reason for their homeschool filing in the first place, was because schools weren't open. And the mom needs to work. She needs even what enrollment is available at their district, even if it's not 5 days a week. And the school told her, too bad, you missed the deadline by 2 weeks.
Did they indicate what deadline they're referring to?
Yes, I guess they had a deadline for the community resident families to sign up to enroll their child to participate in the whatever degree of in-person classes they were offering for the community. And they said, sorry, you missed the deadline.
Yeah, it might be a space issue in the building where there's only a limited number of students that can fit in the building at a 3-foot spacing at any time. But that doesn't seem like you should be able to not enroll. Maybe you can't attend in person, but you should still be able to enroll in the school at any time.
Mike, do you have any insight on the VLAX thing as far as why districts might give VLAX students a harder time?
No. I know we're trying to bring students back and we don't have enough room to bring everybody back.
Okay.
And so some grades can come in to certain buildings and there's enough room, and other grades, there's not enough room in those buildings. And so they have to remain split, half in, half out. And so there's just not enough room in the building to bring everybody in and maintain CDC distancing.
Mike, can you enlighten me? Are districts across the state adjusting to the new CDC requirements of 3-foot spacing, or are they still using the 6-foot spacing?
I think that just varies. Across, we've always been 3 feet in Windham, but I know other districts, and there was some arguing about 3 feet, 6 feet, but initially the distancing was recommended at 6 feet. And I think some schools went with that measure. Yeah, that's not very helpful, Michelle. Sorry, but.
Huh. Okay. And I get the reason different grades can come back or not come back is just the size of how many kids are in that grade, not necessarily.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. But that's separate from enrollment.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, may I ask, just for my own sense of the situation, Michelle, is there, I mean, it sounds like deadlines are part of a school, a way a school is run. I mean, there are deadlines for application. Now, is there something about, is there something in the law about public schools not being allowed to have deadlines? I mean, it does sound like a reasonable situation to me. I realize that this family is suffering, but that there would be a deadline sounds also like a school situation.
I'm not aware of anything that prohibits deadlines, especially with these COVID protocols and local control over how they implement their own processes and in-person versus remote choices. But as Mike said, enrollment is a different factor versus any kind of hybrid that the school may have. I don't understand how a district could limit enrollment, even if that meant that the number of students had to have some sort of alternating hybrid in-person attendance. With some days, schools are doing it different ways. Some are, Monday and, Wednesday, and some are Tuesday, Thursday, and some have that change where Wednesday is always their remote day for the entire school. I mean, it's different district by district, but this family was told they were not allowed to enroll, not just having to do the hybrid model.
Okay. I mean, just because I know, so at the college level, we won't enroll anybody after January 20th because we can't give you the bottom line number of course
Sure.
hours. So
Sure.
I just wonder if it's a course hour thing, but
I don't think so, K-12, because that's there's that access to a free and appropriate education. Mike probably knows this stuff better than I do. But if a new family moves into the district in March, would they tell the family, no, I'm sorry, you can't enroll your child. You're going to have to homeschool or find some other school to accept you?
No.
I mean, right? So that makes no sense.
Yeah.
okay.
I don't think those enrollment deadlines are applicable for K-12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really sounds like it's an in-person deadline. I know we were shuffling desks in and out of rooms, trying to create enough space for students, and things were going into storage, out of storage, and you just need time to be able to do that and prepare the room. And so you needed firm numbers to know what things needed to be moved, what rooms teachers could be in or not be in. And so that it's, without knowing, it sounds like it might be a situation like that.
Well, hopefully they'll have some sort of situation rectification before April, but it still seems strange, the whole enrollment part of it. Like, go ahead and enroll, and then maybe we'll have in person for you in April. But
right.
I don't know. So I can include that when I email the commissioner. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Excuse me, about equal access before we move on to reports? Okay. Thank you for the conversation. I've learned a lot. So I'll start with Fred.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, I would say the same in terms of things that affect the committee. We're trying to get kids back as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's promising that teachers are getting vaccinated, and that will be helpful. But until somebody says you can put more people in a room, I don't think schools can make that decision on their own.
Yeah, kind of at a standstill.
Yeah.
Katie is not here, so next, Steph.
I just had that question about the waiver, which I guess
Right.
the commissioner. And then I've been continuing, was actually working on it today. The youth employment forms for kids between age 12 and 15. And now those can be signed by the parent, but the problem was for the last several years, the Department of Labor had just put an additional form on, and the first one was sort of misleading. So they've built a new form. They got it posted yesterday, But the paragraph on the frequently asked questions page was still a little off and linked to the old form. So we talked about that today, and they got the new language up there. They still need to take down some of the old links. But now it should be that if people are wondering, they see information that tells them that the student, the child, needs to go get a request from the employer, and then that can be filled in either at their school or with their parents, and then sent back to the employer, and kept one at home and one with the Department of Labor. And the nice new form says, you know, signature of school official, and in big letters, or parent, whereas before it was school official and then parent, and it implied you needed all the same thing, you know, you needed all of the things. So I have to update links on our website, but if you go to the Department of Labor site, you will see the
Thank you.
big thing.
If you have that link available, would you mind
Yeah,
posting it in the chat?
we just worked on it this afternoon, so I can send it along.
Thank you.
New Hampshire Department of Labor.
Yes, youth employment certificate.
Thank you.
I actually had a question for you regarding we had talked about it, I don't remember if it was January or November, about New Hampshire being a self-certifying state and how the language on the website was a little bit unclear.
Well, no, they had taken down the old statement.
They had taken it down, that's what it was.
They put on a new one. It's okay. And they also kind of like copied the form that the coalition has. It doesn't really need to be there. But the point is so that if a parent is saying to a college admissions official, I don't have a diploma from the state, I don't have a document I can give you that certifies my child has graduated, I have to certify it myself because New Hampshire is a self-certifying state, they can say, please look at the Department of Education website, which will confirm what I'm telling you.
Okay.
So that's right there on the home education page.
Wonderful. So it's there, and it's
Yeah, it's not as detailed as the old statement, but it serves the purpose.
okay. Wonderful.
It
Thank
is
you.
taken down. Basically, when they made the new website, they lost about half the content and they have not reconnected the navigation to it. So it's in there somewhere, but nobody linked to it. So
Thank you for making sure it's up
it's
there.
there. If you go, you'll see it right there.
Okay.
And it's on the coalition site. On our high school pages, there's a lot of, you know, all those different forms and
Right.
details and everything.
And I know Granite State has a lot of that on their website too. Awesome, thank you. Jen and George.
Yeah, we've been answering kind of end of year questions and planning questions. Some of the homeschoolers were
Your sound
going
is
back into the public high school.
Again, your audio is impossible to understand. Your camera, I think the video is messed up too.
You may have frozen.
System froze.
Yep.
I was gonna let Jen, and if she comes back, she's welcome to, Jen, are you back? You're
No.
muted. You're muted.
Is it, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think my internet's having a problem. The connection.
Okay.
Jen, I didn't hear you when you made your
Yeah.
announcement. Would you say that again, please?
It's frozen again.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, dear.
yeah, I was gonna let Jen make the report. I didn't sleep much last night, and I've been kind of out of circulation for the last couple of months. My mother passed away on February 25th. And,
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry, George.
well, at least we had her at home with us.
Yeah.
We had hospice care, which made it possible. I'm not sure it would have been possible without them, but
Mhm.
it was just extremely time consuming, obviously.
Yeah.
So I haven't been really keeping up with things. I'm starting to this week. I just started to start keeping up with things again. Looks like Jen is still frozen. Yeah, we've had, people asking us questions and calling. I just don't remember. That's why I was going to let Jen do this.
She's coming back on now, I think.
Geez, I don't. Okay. I got to expand my screen. Anyway.
Coming back.
Yep, she's coming back. Well, we can go on to the next. How's it going, Jen? Are you back?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, no. Yes.
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 Oh.
Okay.
No.
Definitely having problems.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, technical
Try with the video
difficulty.
off.
Oh,
Try with the video off.
That could work.
Yeah, that's true.
stop video. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Okay, yeah, we had some questions about homeschoolers going back into the public high school and meeting requirements such as a finance requirement, course, economics. And I referred them to the Learn Everywhere and extended learning opportunities. This is one actually going into the senior year. I don't know if there's any other ideas, but that's what we had dealt with.
So are there there are students who are going into their public high school for their senior year and they're needing to show proof of classes that they've completed and competencies and things like that?
They're in it right now. I'm not sure how many courses they took freshman and sophomore year because they sort of did a combination usually, but they're in right now and they're being told that they have to take a half-year economic finance course and it has to be taken at the school. And she's like, well, we're perfectly competent to teach it and they want the time to take other courses. So I had suggested looking at extended learning opportunities and Learn Everywhere.
Yeah, those are definitely good options. I don't know if there's an option through CLEP for finance, but that could be another. Glenn, do you know if the CLEP exams go for finance?
I am not sure. I'll try and find out.
Okay.
Doesn't that apply to college, not high school?
It can be both.
So to help you a little bit, Jen, we did a discussion, a presentation for Granite State Home Educators back in September. I'll share the link in the chat. And this is something that we discussed with the Department of Ed about it. And essentially, public high school principals have a lot of discretion about what outside credits of any kind they choose to apply towards graduation. So they can and often do limit credits from homeschool programs, from even VLACs or other accredited sources. They have the autonomy to pick and choose what will count towards graduation. It gets to be pretty frustrating, honestly, because that threshold is a bit higher than what many community colleges or private schools will have. It's very rigid. My personal hope is that with COVID and so many students pursuing alternatives to their local public school this year, so much so, that the high school principals will be a bit more accommodating for school children returning to their local high schools. But so far, we're not seeing that happen. Our video includes some tips on how to try to maximize those credits towards graduation using CLEP or AP or other sources to try to demonstrate the mastery that the local public schools want, but it still boils down to the local public schools having the choice.
I was going to say, we did discuss this at several HEAC meetings and sort of put together, I know we put together a little document that went out in the coalition. But sometimes, I'm not sure this family situation, but if they've been mostly taking classes at the high school, but if not, sometimes parents are hesitant to forego that official high school diploma and have a homeschool diploma. And, you know, that's a perfectly viable option, but sometimes they don't realize that. You know.
Yeah, she
I don't
does
what
know that, but the student wants the high school diploma from the public school.
Summer school.
Sometimes they want to walk in the graduation ceremony if they've taken half their classes at the school.
So I want to make sure I understand what the issue is in order to be able to offer help for it. So this student is being told that they need to take a certain course. So my recommendation would be for that student, if they don't want to take the course at the school, is that what you're asking? The student doesn't want to, okay. So ask the school, if I don't take it with you, what is going to count for the same amount of credits outside options for that? So whatever they do choose, it needs to be accepted by the high school for that credit course. So there are, you know, tons of options, but and as Michelle was saying, if they're not going to accept any of them, then the student just needs to take the class.
Right.
So they need to find out.
Yeah, required class. I know ours, you know, you must have this class and that class. And
So find out if other options are going to be accepted or not. Because you don't want to tell them, you know, hey, go online and take this accredited course, and then it's not going to be counted by that high school. They have the autonomy to do that. So it's really up to the district and the student really talking in detail and finding out, are you going to accept this outside of your class?
Yeah, she said they were pretty strict. They wanted that course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not a regular economics class that you might take through CLEP, so it's probably a personal finance and managing your house,
Yes.
you know, a high school type life skills and, you know.
And did you have anything else from CUHE?
No, just we think we fixed our link. There was a problem with the link to our website up on the Department of Education, and we believe we fixed it.
Great.
I'm so glad. Thank you all for all your advice for Jen's issue. I really appreciate having all this knowledge on this council. It's pretty wonderful.
Thank you.
Amanda, did you have more that you wanted to report from Granite State Home Educators, or was it?
You know, it was sort of covered. We're seeing lots of questions about wrapping up the school year. And so having something in writing and some kind of guidance for this massive amount of people who are going to choose to put their kid back in public school.
So sorry.
Having some kind of guidance for that, because, you know, if Barrington is not going to be the only district that's going to give it, it's just not going to be the only one.
This was a big topic, so we wrote up I mean, I'm sure Michelle had a version, I had a version that we wrote up with all the different ways to try to make, set it up so your school would be more willing to accept credits, starting with, if you are, you know, homeschooling, but you know that, or you intend to go back to your school, please talk to them right away to make sure that you know, they will accept what you have, and then tips on all these other things. Maybe I'll need to grab that and send that to everybody. But I'm sure there's something similar on your website. But this was definitely an issue, and it's going to get worse suddenly as, you know, August comes probably, or
Yeah.
whenever. Yeah.
But I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we're having the book sale this year, which is a whole different thing, but Christian Home Educators of New Hampshire and Southern Maine was formerly Seacoast Christian Home Educators Association. And we skipped last year, the book sale, for obvious reasons. And this year it is on. So this is a really big deal because everything has gone remote. Everything has been canceled. So that huge book sale, used curriculum and book sale, folks come from all over the state, different states, make the drive to Rochester for that. So we have a big, huge used curriculum sale that really benefits a lot, many, many, many families.
When's the
And
date on that?
that is June 5th. And because we want to be a blessing to the homeschool community, we take less than 10% as the consignment. And really that runs the computer system we use. It pays that bill, that's about it. But we give the consigners 90% of what they sell. And they actually this year, we're trying to motivate sellers to volunteer because we're always short on especially on the tail end, packing up. But they can earn up to 99% back. So it really is going to be interesting to see how this turns out. But typically, we have between 6,000 and 10,000 items. So it's just a huge sale. And we're excited. It's going to be a little different because of COVID and space restrictions and that sort of thing. But we're still very excited to hold it. And people are starting to ask, you know, where can I find use this and use that? So that's a pretty big deal. If folks do sign up to volunteer for a shift, they get to shop early at the pre-sale. So that's another motivator for folks to volunteer. So that is scheduled at Emmanuel Church on June 5th. And the drop-off is going to be the day before. More details are going to be blasted out everywhere, but that's the save the date.
Great. Exciting.
I know a lot of people were disappointed when that didn't happen last year.
I know, we agonized over that. Yeah, it was awful. No.
And I have another book sale in the announcements that we'll get to a little bit later. So thank you.
Yeah, we have one going on in Wolfboro in May.
Oh, wonderful.
You do it in a parking lot, you know, open up your trunk. And so.
And I know, Jen, yours is this weekend.
Yeah, it's at one of the parishes. It's actually not put on by our group, but it's put on some of the members that are within the group at the parish. And they're having a lot of used books, selling, buying, and there's going to be a mom's panel to discuss things like how do you do end of year evaluations and what can new homeschoolers do. That's this Saturday. It's at St. Mary's Parish in Manchester in the basement.
I just put the information that you had emailed to me in the chat. So for
Okay.
anyone who wants it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's wonderful. We have a huge population of Catholic homeschoolers in our group, and I get probably a couple times a month anyway, someone asking me for Catholic, any resources, any groups, anything. So that's wonderful, and I'm happy to share.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see, department. I haven't heard back from the commissioner. So, Senator Ward, do you have?
Yes, ma'am. I see you have me down for 1:30.
Well, in case you had anything to say.
Well, it has been a very interesting journey. And obviously there's a tremendous amount of resistance to having money actually go with the child and the parents have an option to where they want to send that child. But anyhow, we had it passed the committee. C2, and I took it out on the floor, and it passed the Senate floor 14-10. So then it was immediately put into fiscal to go take a look at it for the budget. So that's where it is right now.
Wonderful. What kind of changes or amendments, or if any, were made to it?
Well, one of the things was that I had to do with, a lot of people were concerned about these wealthy people were going to use it. So I think for right now, we have set it at 300% of the federal poverty line, I guess it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was very concerned about the accountability. So there was another amendment to who is going to review and where is the money going and who is going to oversee this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then one of them was very concerned about if, I don't know, I don't think it's going to be a huge exodus from public schools. I really don't. But they were concerned about, like, all of a sudden, if we have a number of kids leaving the district, it's going to be hard for us. So we decided that the first year, they're not going to lose any of the adequacy aid. That following year, they're going to be able to get half of the adequacy aid. And the third year, I guess they can keep, they go to 25%. So it'll be a slow reduction in the money that they will get from the Education Trust Fund. Then we heard from the homeschoolers. There was some issue that was, I thought we had it all taken care of, but you never know. You have to really look at the fine print.
Mm-hmm.
And Senator Bradley's talked with some people, and that was the floor amendment to really be very specific. Well, who was a homeschooler and who was an EFA student. So that was taken care of. So I'm hoping that it's going to be okay. But it's amazing, you think everything is fairly well taken care of, and somebody else will read it and come up with something. And, so I mean, it's a nice process because you are able to be responsive to some major concerns and be able to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that is. So 130 is in fiscal, waiting thoughts and planning for a budget. So we'll see where it goes from there.
Thank you for doing that. I had a question for you. You said that you had been working on seeing if buildings could be used, old school buildings that were no longer being used for public schools could be used for charter schools. How is that?
That bill was re-referred because it really we needed some more time to take a look at what is the general opinion, how many schools are available, how many have space, and who could use it, and what were their concerns. Are they really old buildings, so you have to rehab the whole thing? So we'll discuss that this summer and fall, and take a look at it and have a report, I would imagine, by November 1st.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Is there anything else coming up that we should be paying attention to or telling our constituents about?
I don't know. Glenn, do you know of something? I mean, I think that 130 was the huge one. And there's always some other little things, but I don't think really that affects education the way that 130 did. So
yeah. Thank you. Representative Cordelli, how about you?
Thank you.
Sure.
There was a House bill also related to unused space for right of first refusal for charter schools, and that did pass the committee. So I believe it will be voted on the first week in April by the full House. Our education freedom accounts bill did not fare as well as the Senate bill. We had to retain it in the House Education Committee due to a couple of last-minute changes in position. But we have worked with Senator Ward and Senator Bradley, and we're hopeful that their bill, SB 130, will make it to the governor's desk. I don't think that there's anything else that really affects the council. It has been a difficult year in the legislature. The Senate is doing everything remotely, whereas the House has been doing committee work in a hybrid model. We've had an interesting time with full House sessions, in that we are now using the Bedford Sports Complex, where we have 400 of us on the floor of the complex. And it's been very, very difficult, very challenging, with lawsuits against the process and so forth. I think there is still an appeal working against that in-person model at the sports complex. So we shall see, but it's been challenging, and just the ability to talk to fellow legislators and senators, House members in the hallways has been really a handicap, I think, to the entire process.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's easy running anything remotely or in a hybrid model from bottom to the top. Speaking of, I really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for your time. I know everybody's probably very tired of Zoom meetings at this point.
Well, one a day is okay. When you have 4 of them, it gets to be sort of tiring.
Agreed. Since the commissioner is not here and we don't have old business, I just wanted to bring up the new business of the annual report. I will be putting together a draft for approval before the May, or I'll probably actually try to send it out in April so that we can vote on it in May. So if anyone has anything specific they would like to see in the annual report, please send it my way. And I will have the draft out to you before we would have an April meeting, so that if there's anything that needs to be discussed, I can convene an April meeting and we can discuss the annual report. Or if there's anything you'd like me to include, you're welcome to tell me now as well. Aside from that, I usually just base it off of the minutes and the things that we've talked about throughout the year. And then we have a few announcements. We talked about the book fairs. We also have a First in the Nation essay contest. And this is a contest that is open to New Hampshire homeschoolers right now. I put the link on the agenda, but I will also put it in the, oh, thank you, Michelle. I also put it in the chat. So the First in the Nation essay contest is discussing the presidential primary. It's encouraging young people to think about why it's important for New Hampshire to be first in the nation for the presidential primaries. They're just opening it to homeschool students this year. They want to open it to public, private, and parochial schools in 2022. It's for high school students. The rules are on the website, and the essays are due the 23rd of April. Winners will be announced in May, and there is a cash prize. And the other announcement is that Granite State Home Educators is hosting a post-secondary options event April 20th at 6:30. It's titled Applying 101, Exploring Higher Education Options for High School Students. And it's intended for high school students, 9th through 11th grade and their families. Oops.
I put the link in the chat box for folks too.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Certainly.
Okay. Any public comment? Michelle, you seem.
Kitty, I have a question after public comment.
Oh, yes, wonderful. Go ahead, Fred.
Okay, so at the beginning of the meeting, you brought up that you and Mike Koski
Yeah.
are up for reappointment.
Yes.
Okay, so you made that announcement. Is that's nothing we have to vote on or anything?
Nope, we're just waiting for our reappointment
I see.
letters from the commissioner.
Okay, and then with Amanda, is that something we're just waiting on too?
Amanda, have you received your letter officially? Not yet. Okay.
Okay, so you made that announcement, just letting us know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Introducing everyone to Amanda.
And you know that Glenn and I were reappointed by our different speaker and the to be
Yes.
with you for another 2 years.
Good.
And so have you received your reappointment letters from the commissioner or do you?
I have it from
you get them or no?
I have it from the president of the Senate.
Oh,
And
yeah.
mine is from the speaker.
Okay.
And Barbara Shaw was reappointed as well.
Wonderful. I'm so grateful.
And sorry, and Representative and Senator, that happened this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
We get appointed to different committees and commissions every new session, like 2 years. So
I see.
Kitty, at
they
the
divvy
last
out all the
meeting-
appointments.
Oh, sorry. I did mention it would be very good to get these other seats filled. I wonder if people are apprehensive thinking, oh dear, if we have more education officials on the HEAC, but it doesn't work that way. The more education officials you have, the more they meet homeschoolers and understand their situation, and we don't have so many situations come up that aren't good. So where we have these blanks, I don't know if you had emailed yet any of these associations, but we need to ask them to send a representative.
Right. And you have to remember that we can't vote. We're non-voting members,
Right.
which is,
No,
The
you
other.
legislative members, but
Yeah.
representatives from the School Boards Association or the, school administrators, they are voting members.
it's just the legislative members that they're not allowed to vote, so.
Right, but we need to be able to talk directly to those people we have problems with. That's why they're on the HEAC.
Right.
Yes.
To forestall problems.
I have sent an email to the commissioner. The commissioner has sent emails out to the respective groups and has not received any volunteers,
Mhm.
so to speak. I've had the same issue with Unschooling New Hampshire where I've asked a few times and have not had volunteers. So I will pester again.
How many, if I could ask, how many seats are open? What do we need to fill?
Right now, the ones that are open are Unschooling New Hampshire, the Non-Public School Advisory Council, New Hampshire School Administrators Association, and the School Boards Association.
What was the third one? I'm sorry, Kitty.
The third one, the New Hampshire School Administrators Association.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have those four.
They're all listed on the HEAC page on the Department of Education website, which
Yes.
can be good for sort of jogging your memory with, oh, we should have people from these places or those.
Yep, I can actually link that.
I have no shame. I will ask anybody at any point. So if you need me to ask anyone, I'm on the seacoast. If you know someone, I will show up at their office. Let me know.
Yeah, maybe we could get the Rochester superintendent to join HEAC and.
Oh, goodness.
Well, that's exactly how it worked, and that's how it was set up way back when.
Yeah.
Not functioning now.
We
We're
see
not-
those guys regularly at all the education hearings.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, yes.
We homeschoolers aren't so scary once you get to know us. So wonderful. Does anyone else have anything further they would like to add to our meeting? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn our meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all very much for this. I will send this email to the commissioner and I will send you all a copy of it. Actually, I'll probably send it all to you first and then you can add or change and then we'll send it to the commissioner. Thank you so much for your time and I'll let you know if we need to meet in April. If not, I will see you all in May.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Kitty,
Thank
I have
you.
a question.
Oh, yes.
Kitty, where will the recorded meeting be available? Just so I can double check a few things.
The recorded meeting is on the Granite State Home Educators page. If anyone else would like the link to it, I'm happy to give it to you. I've given it to the Department of Education as well. I haven't seen it on their website yet, but the minutes always end up there.
Do you
So
mind do you mind sending me the link to this meeting?
I'd be happy to.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kitty.
You're welcome. Let me write that down. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.
Have a good night. Bye.